up, guys? So today I'm gonna do a story time and a drive with me all in one, so that's fun. I'm going to tell you guys about the time that I smoked weed and it was laced. I was hanging out with the guy I was dating at the time and his brother, and they went to go hang out at a friend's house or something, and I wanted to go hang out at my friends, so basically I dropped them off at their friends and I went to go hang out at my friends and took my boyfriend at the time. I took their car and I dropped them off at their friends, and I went to my friends, and basically my friend was like, hey, I want to smoke weed, and at the time I was smoking, like obviously I don't smoke anymore, but it was years and years and years ago, probably like 11 years ago this happened. And my friends like want to smoke some weed, and a kid from like down the street, one of our neighbors, friends or whatever, came over and he goes, I got this new weed, blah blah blah. So we're like, oh cool, let's smoke down, okay? So we were like smoking, and everything was great. You know, I felt normal. I felt like I was getting high, and everything was fun. And I'm like, it's time to go. I gotta go pick them up. So I go to leave, and I get in the car, and I back out of her driveway, and I'm driving down the street, just normal, driving down the street, just driving. And all of a sudden the road gets really weird looking. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but like my vision went like this. Like it was like everything was closing in. Yeah, everything was closing in. And it was like I was looking through like a straw, and I was like looking out. And I started to get a little panicky, and my heart started to race. So I ended up driving and I pulled into someone's random driveway. And I was like, I'm just gonna park the car. I wasn't thinking straight. I was so messed up. But I didn't know that the weed was laced, so I was just like thinking I was having some weird reaction or something, and I was freaking out. Park the car, and I get out of the car, and I start walking around this person's yard. And I remember this I go into this person's yard. I'm like walking around and like looking through their windows. There was no one there. I don't know. I was trying to like find someone to help me, I guess. So I leave their yard and I start walking. So I'm gonna walk home. And home, the place I was living at the time was probably like walking. It would probably take me like an hour to get home from where I was. So, and that's walking. So I was about an hour away from home, and I'm freaking out thinking I'm dying. And I start seeing things, like I don't know how to explain it. It's really hard to explain, but I started seeing like people. And I was walking the side of the road, and this car pulls up and it stops. And I'm like, I need help. I think I'm dying. I think I'm having a heart attack. And the person just rolls their window down, and it's this old man. Now, I don't know if any of this was even real. I don't know if I was just imagining it because I was like messed up. I was high. But I stop, and I'm like, hello? And the guy's not talking, and he rolls his window down, and his face is long. He looks like a farmer. He has like a long beard, a pointy hat, and his face is just getting longer and like melting down the side of his car. And I'm like, oh my God, what is going on? I'm like, hello, can you help me? He wouldn't answer. And then another car pulls up behind him, and they're just sitting there running their car. And they're in the middle of the road, mind you. It's the middle of the road. So it's what it was like in the middle of the night. So, and then these people come out of their house, and I think this was real. And this lady goes, are you okay, hon? And I was like, I think I'm dying. I think I'm having a heart attack. And she's like, we're going to call an ambulance. And the ambulance came, and I was sitting on the side of the road. I remember I was grabbing the gravel and just like, I couldn't even like, I felt like I was crawling out of my own skin. And, I remember the next day my hands were all bloody from the gravel, or not bloody, but they were like all scraped up. But anyways, the EMS comes and gets me, and I remember the EMS, that when they were putting me into the EMS, and they put something in an IV. I remember them saying they had to put me on heart stabilizers. I'm not 100% sure of what the medication was called, but I remember they put me on a heart stabilizer. It was like scary. I don't know if my heart was just going crazy or what, but they hooked me up to an IV, and I was laying in the EMS, and the one MTech, is that what you call them? The one paramedic, what am I saying MTech for? The one paramedic, she had sunglasses on the top of her head. And I was like freaking out about her sunglasses. I was like, why are you wearing sunglasses at night? You guys are trying to trick me. What are you doing? It's nighttime. She's like, well, I worked all day and it was sunny earlier. I'm like, well, take the sunglasses off. And I was like screaming. I think they had to restrain me. They finally got me to the hospital. I had to call my mom to come get me. Well, I think my dad ended up coming to get me. But they put me on like anti-anxiety medication. And the cops were coming in. I remember them talking to me about the vehicle and like where I left it and all this stuff. And then the next morning, they were so mad at me. My boyfriend at the time, my ex, and then his brother and his uncle were so mad at me for like just leaving the car in a driveway. But I remember it was so scary. I literally was like, it was the worst time. I don't know. It made me never want to smoke weed again. Of course I did, being a silly teen. I smoked weed again. But yeah, so that was that story. And they ended up checking my blood, I guess, to see what drug was in the weed or whatever, because I did tell them that I did smoke, and I think that it was laced and blah blah blah, because I smoked, regularly, so I didn't understand why I was freaking out. And I ended up messaging my friend. I messaged her, I'm like, you realize that the weed was laced? She's like, I felt normal. I'm like, girl, I was seeing freaking crazy things, guys with their faces melting, and she was just like, oh, well, I'll talk to my friend. And I messaged her like a week later, did you ever talk to your friend and find out what was in that? And I don't know, I think she said it was LSD, or I think when they checked my blood at the hospital, they told me it was LSD, but like I said, it was 11 years ago, long time ago. So yeah, and I guess moral of the story is, before you smoke, make sure you know what's in it, because if you don't, you could have a little fiasco like I did. But anyways, yeah. So I'm home now, so this is the end of the video, but I just wanted to get this up for you guys, and hopefully it was entertaining. I feel like it's super boring, but whatever, it is what it is. But I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Bye!